The convoy halted on a misty Virginia road, blue lights slicing through the fog. A young cop, hand on her holster, faced off against Sergeant Isaiah Coleman, his tomb guard uniform a striking blend of scarlet and black, marking him as one of Arlington's elite. "You're blocking the road, Sergeant. Move the hearse or I'll have to arrest you," she said. Isaiah's gaze didn't waver, fixed on the flag-draped casket behind him. "This is Private Malik Jordan's final journey," he said, voice steady as iron. "We don't detour." The crowd murmured, some frustrated, others intrigued, unaware that the soldier in the hearse had saved a squad with his last breath. But a revelation was coming. A lieutenant colonel who knew the truth was speeding toward the scene to set things right. Before we dive into this story, where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe values like honor, courage, and sacrifice still matter, join us in keeping their legacy alive. The Virginia morning was thick with mist, softening the world's edges. A convoy of black vehicles moved slowly along a quiet country road, their engines humming softly. At the center was a hearse, its polished surface catching the pale light. Inside, draped in stars and stripes, rested the casket of Private First Class Malik Jordan, a soldier who'd given everything. Leading the escort was Sergeant Isaiah Coleman, a black tomb guard from Arlington's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. His scarlet uniform was immaculate, his white gloves pristine, his face resolute. Beneath the discipline, a vow weighed heavy, a promise made under a desert sky to bring his brother home right. Isaiah's eyes stayed on the flag, its folds glowing faintly in the dawn. He could still hear Malik's voice, that warm chuckle that cut through the tension of basic training years ago. They'd been young, barely out of high school, thrown together at Fort Moore. Malik, all heart and quick wit, had tripped over his own boots during a drill, laughing it off. "Guess I'm dancing my way to glory, Isaiah." The memory stirred Isaiah's heart, but he held his composure. That was Malik, always a spark in the dark. Now Isaiah was keeping his word, escorting Malik to Arlington through the main roads with full honors, as promised. The convoy slowed at a rural intersection, brake lights glowing red through the fog. Isaiah glanced out the window. A police cruiser blocked the road, its lights flashing silently. A young officer, her face set with determination, stood in the middle of the asphalt, hand raised. Officer Amara Hayes, her badge glinting, waved the convoy to a stop. Isaiah's jaw tightened. This wasn't planned. He stepped out, boots clicking on the pavement, the air cool with the scent of damp grass. Amara approached, her radio crackling. "Sir, you need to pull over. There's a wreck ahead, and this road's closed." Isaiah's voice was calm, deliberate. "Officer, this is a military funeral procession for Private First Class Malik Jordan, United States Army. We're headed to Arlington National Cemetery. We will proceed as planned." Amara's eyes narrowed, her hand on her duty belt. "I understand, sir, but I've got orders to clear this road. There's a detour through Old Mill Lane. It'll get you there just as quick." Isaiah stood firm. "Private Jordan will be escorted through the main route as arranged. A detour is not an option. This is about honor, not convenience." Amara's voice sharpened. "Look, Sergeant, I've got a job to do. That wreck's got traffic backed up for miles. You're holding up half the county." Isaiah's gaze was unyielding. Private Jordan gave his life for this country. He deserves to be brought home with dignity, not rerouted like cargo. Amara's radio crackled, her supervisor's voice cutting through. "Hayes, get that road clear now." She glanced at the hearse, the flag visible through the window, and hesitated. Something flickered in her eyes, doubt perhaps, or a memory. But she held her ground. "I'm sorry, Sergeant, you need to move." Behind them, the convoy idled, engines humming with the rustle of leaves. In one of the cars, Evelyn Jordan sat with her son Caleb, her hand gripping his tightly. She was 60, her face carved with a mother's grief. Malik had been her joy, a boy who dreamed of being a pilot since he was old enough to watch planes soar over their Atlanta neighborhood. Now she stared at his casket, her throat tight. Caleb, 12, clutched a model airplane, its wings worn from years of play. "Is that Malik's car, Mom?" he asked, voice small. Evelyn nodded, eyes glistening. That's your brother, Caleb. He's going home. Isaiah's mind drifted to Syria, to a night under a sky blazing with stars. Malik had been sprawled on a cot, his helmet tipped back, talking about home. You ever think about what's waiting for us, Isaiah? He'd asked, quieter than usual. After all this. Isaiah had shrugged, practical as ever. I try not to. Keeps me focused. Malik grinned, that spark in his eyes. You're my anchor, man. I charge in. You keep us steady. That night, Malik made him promise. If I don't make it, Isaiah, bring me home proper. Main roads, full honors. Don't let them stick me on some back route like I'm nobody. 3 weeks ago, that promise became reality. Malik's squad was hit in Syria, a classified mission gone wrong. Malik had pushed his team out of harm's way, taking the blast himself. The news hit Isaiah like a freight train. He'd stood alone in the barracks holding a photo of him and Malik, arms around each other, laughing in the desert sun. Now, on this Virginia road, that promise burned in his chest. He wouldn't fail Malik. Amara's radio crackled again. Her supervisor's voice sharper. Hayes, what's the holdup? I'm handling it, sir, she said, her tone clipped. But her eyes lingered on the flag, and she thought of her cousin Jamal, who'd served in Afghanistan. He'd come home, but the war stayed with him. Sleepless nights, VA visits. She pushed the thoughts aside. Her job was here, keeping order. A small crowd gathered at the intersection, drawn by the flashing lights and Isaiah's striking uniform. Vernon, a grizzled Vietnam vet with a USMC cap, leaned on his cane, squinting. That's a tomb guard, he muttered to Keisha, a young barista from the nearby diner. Means something serious. Keisha, her phone half raised, lowered it, curious. What's a tomb guard? Vernon's voice was rough but reverent. They guard the unknown soldier at Arlington. 21 steps, 21 seconds, they don't break for nothing. Darius, a truck driver parked nearby, tilted his head. That's a soldier's funeral, ain't it? Looks like trouble. Back at the hearse, Isaiah stood like a sentinel, his posture impeccable. Officer Hayes, this procession is authorized by the Department of the Army. We will proceed through this intersection to Arlington. Amara's jaw tightened. I don't care who authorized it. I've got a pile-up 2 miles up, and you're blocking first responders. Take the detour, or I'll call for backup. Isaiah's eyes held steady. Private Jordan saved lives, including mine. He will not be rerouted to avoid traffic. That's not how we honor the fallen. Amara's hand hovered over her radio, but something stopped her. The flag, the casket, Isaiah's words, they stirred a memory of Jamal, of the stories he told about loyalty, about sacrifice. She shook her head, trying to focus. My orders come from the county, Sergeant. I can let you through. Isaiah's voice softened, carrying centuries of tradition. There are codes older than your county, officer. They govern how we honor those who gave everything. Malik Jordan died for this country. He will not be hidden in death. The crowd's murmurs grew. Vernon stepped forward, cane tapping the asphalt. I served in Nam, he said, voice carrying. Lost half my squad. That boy in there deserves better than a back road. Keisha nodded, her voice soft. He's right, that's someone's son. Darius crossed his arms, gruff. Let him through, lady. Ain't right to stop a soldier like that. Evelyn Jordan opened her car door, stepping out with Caleb clutching her hand. Her face was pale, but her voice steady. My son Malik loved this country, she said, looking at Amara. He wanted to fly planes, to see the world from above. He died saving his squad. Please let him have this. Caleb, holding his model airplane, looked up at Amara. He's my hero, he said, voice breaking. Amara's breath caught. She thought of Jamal, of the letters he'd sent, full of pride and fear. She'd never fully understood until now. Her radio crackled again, her supervisor's voice sharp. Hayes, I'm sending backup. Move that convoy now. She glanced at Isaiah, then at Evelyn and Caleb and at the crowd, now a dozen strong, standing in quiet support. Her hand dropped from the radio. Wait, she said softly. Just wait. Isaiah's mind flashed to Syria, a dusty road thick with smoke. Malik's voice had cut through the chaos. Isaiah, down. He tackled Isaiah as an IED detonated, the blast throwing them into the dirt. When the dust settled, Malik was grinning, blood trickling from his forehead. Told you, man. I got your back. That night over MREs, Malik had shown their squad Caleb's model airplane. My kid brother thinks I'm a hero, he'd said, voice proud but heavy. Got to live up to that. Now, on this Virginia road, Isaiah felt that moment like a heartbeat. Malik had given everything. And this procession washes final flight. He looked at Amara, his voice urgent but steady. Officer, it made a promise to Malik. Main roads, full honors. He saved my life, and I will not break my word. Amara's eyes met his, seeing the weight behind them. Brotherhood, loss, love. The crowd's silence deepened, their presence a quiet force. Vernon saluted, his hand trembling but firm. Keisha pocketed her phone, eyes wet. Darius stepped closer, voice low. Come on, officer. Do the right thing. Amara's radio crackled, but she ignored it. She looked at the hearse, the flag catching a ray of sunlight through the mist. Jamal's face flashed in her mind. The way he'd smiled when he came home, the way he'd never been the same. Before she could speak, a black SUV pulled up, its door opening sharply. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Tate stepped out, his uniform crisp, his gray hair catching the light. He'd been Malik and Isaiah's commanding officer, a man who'd seen too many soldiers fall. Officer Hayes, he said, voice calm but authoritative. This procession is under military authority. It will proceed to Arlington as planned. Amara straightened, face flushing. Sir, I have orders to clear this road. There's a wreck. Tate raised a hand, his eyes kind but firm. I understand your duty, officer, but this is about a higher one. Private Jordan gave his life for this nation. This procession is his final journey, and it will not be diverted. He turned to Isaiah, voice softening. Sergeant Coleman, you're doing right by him. Carry on, Isaiah nodded, gratitude flickering in his eyes. Yes, sir. Amara stepped back, shoulders relaxing. She looked at Evelyn, at Caleb's small hand clutching the airplane, at the crowd standing shoulder to shoulder, forming a corridor of honor. I'm sorry, she said, voice barely a whisper. I didn't understand. Go ahead, Sergeant, she added. Isaiah met her eyes, nodding silently. Thank you, officer. The convoy rolled forward, the hearse leading the way. The crowd parted, their silence a tribute. Vernon saluted, his cap over his heart. Keisha whispered, God bless him. Darius stood tall, hands clasped. As the hearse passed, the flag glowed, its stars sharp against the blue. Evelyn and Caleb followed in their car. Caleb pressing his face to the window, whispering, Fly high! Leak. The road to Arlington stretched ahead. The mist lifting as the sun broke through. Isaiah sat beside the casket, hand near the flag. He thought of Malik, of that night under the stars, of the promise that bound them. You got it, brother, he thought. Full honors, main roads. You're going home right. At Arlington, the convoy slowed, the gates rising like sentinels. The honor guard took their positions, movements precise, reverent. Isaiah led the way, the casket carried with care, the flag vibrant against the green hills. Evelyn and Caleb stood close, Evelyn's hand steady on her son's shoulder. Caleb stepped forward, placing his model airplane on the casket. Fly high, Malik, he said, voice clear. Evelyn's eyes met Isaiah's, her voice soft but strong. Thank you, Isaiah. You kept your word, Isaiah nodded, throat tight. For Malik, ma'am. For you and Caleb. As the casket was lowered, the honor guard fired a salute, the shots echoing across the cemetery. A bugler played taps, the notes pure and haunting. The crowd, now dozens strong, having followed from the intersection, stood in silence, heads bowed. Amara watched from a distance, her cruiser parked at the cemetery's edge. She thought of Jamal, of the stories she'd never asked him to tell. Tomorrow she'd call him, maybe visit, maybe listen. She decided to join the town's Veterans Day event, to understand more, to honor those like Malik. That night, Isaiah returned to the tomb of the unknown soldier. The moon cast silver across the marble. He paced his watch, 21 steps, a turn, a pause, then 21 steps again. Each step was for Malik, for every soldier who'd never come home, for every promise kept. The wind carried the weight of his duty, a reminder that some things endure, honor, sacrifice, brotherhood. This is the story of a black tomb guard and a fallen soldier, of a misty morning in Virginia, of a model airplane, and a promise that held firm against the rush of time. It's a reminder that at Arlington, where every salute and step is sacred, the greatest tribute to the fallen is standing unwavering for their honor. So pause today. Think of Isaiah, of Malik, of the countless heroes whose names we carry in silence. Share their story, not just to honor them, but to remind us all that duty lives in the heart that refuses to forget. And if you find yourself at the tomb of the unknown soldier, watch the guard's steady pace. Count the steps and listen. You might just feel the pulse of a nation, strong and unbroken through the weight of sacrifice.